But testosterone is a masculinizing hormone. And one of the about 12 things that it does is grow muscle. It does a ton of other stuff. It mostly just turns you into a man. It turns Harry Potter into... What's his name? I was going to say Daniel Craig. But
Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Craig is a man.
Yes.
That's the man we all never turned into, really. Yeah. Daniel Radcliffe, it turns you into him, right? And it takes women and turns them into men. So you give women steroids, testosterone, they turn into dudes functionally in every way you can conceive of. And so the muscle growth part is really not a big part of it. It's powerful, but we can lens in and actually be like, oh, so what's testosterone kicking that is actually doing the muscle growth? And then the new drugs just do that. They skip the whole step, which means they get none of the side effects. That being said, why are you not mega jacked and maybe never could get mega jacked? There are like a bunch of other factors. One of them is you could be overproducing a chemical called myostatin. Myomuscle statin stopper blocker. And it just blocks muscle growth. It reduces how much muscle your cells grow all the time because in our evolved ancestry, it was like protein's really hard to find. And you want to use it to make sure your brain and liver and heart are working. And if your muscles take all of it, you starve to death as an idiot with no heart. Right. And then so that was like, okay, well, we better keep the muscles clamped down. But it turns out that if you take that protein, you reduce its production, reduce its activity, your muscle cells actually just want to grow as a default condition of their existence. You uncork that and then boom. And that's how those new drugs are working in part. There are like 3 or 4 other things. Follistatin, there is activin, there's a bunch we haven't discovered yet, all part of this complex that regulates muscle growth. And if you uncork those, you get really jacked. How jacked? Well, if you uncork all of them, you get as jacked as you theoretically possibly could if you had the perfect weight training regimen and the perfect genetics, more or less. But that's just per one muscle cell. There are other factors. How many muscle cells do you have? Genetically, everyone has a slightly different amount, sometimes greatly different amount from birth. And then if you have a crap load of muscle cells, but they're all pretty small, you start training them, they all grow to their biggest size, and now you're fucking jacked. If you start out with not so many cells, but they're all already pretty big, you grow and they're like, we're kind of done. And then you just don't grow much bigger. Another one is satellite cells. So there's a bunch of cells around your muscle cells that are technically muscle cells, but they're in their kind of embryonic stage. So you just kind of sit there. It's like a cell nucleus without all the crazy muscle architecture around it, which is mostly nucleus and a little bit of plasma membrane. It just kind of sits there and just doesn't do a whole lot. So it's like nervously smoking cigarettes, basically. And then when you lift weights, your muscle cells start growing. And they reach a certain size after which growing them is not a good idea because the nucleus is the control center of the cell and there's a bunch of organelles that do all the good stuff. If your muscle part, the contractile part, the actin and myosin, the part of your muscle that actually does the pulling, those proteins, you get too many of those, it's like maintaining a structure that your nucleus can't do by itself. It's like if you took Austin and you installed 0 new fire departments, police departments, or hospitals, and you let all the Californians come in like they did in the last 10 years. You would just have like rampant crime, shit on fire, and the hospitals would be like zombie apocalypse, like lying out the door of dead people. Yeah. So at some point, your muscle cells can only get so big until they're like, I'm done growing. I need like more nuclei. I need more hospital, police, city centers to come in and help. Your satellite cells go, sweet. They split. They donate one part of their nucleus into a muscle cell they're adjacent to, and that muscle cell is now 2 nuclei instead of 1, and then 3, and then 4, and then so on. How many satellite cells you have, how rapidly they divide, how easily they divide based on how much training you're doing is all genetically determined to a huge extent. So you could be pretty not jacked, but you have a ton of muscle fibers that are really small.
Potential.
You grow like crazy from those. You have a fuckload of satellite cells that are really sensitive. They infiltrate and you go like crazy, which is why like Sean Clarita, who's a multi-time Mr. Olympia, he started his bodybuilding career, he was like 110 pounds. And then now that he's in his prime, he's like 190. Where the fuck? He's doubled his muscle. And if people say it's steroids and growth hormone, yeah, sure. But like you try steroids and growth hormone, you're going to get 15 or 20 pounds and then your blood pressure is going to go through the roof and your body's like, I'm done. Yeah. Not everyone gets 100 pounds out of the shit. So genetics for how much muscle you can grow, steroids or not, is a huge factor. And we can attend to some of that, at least some of that, with these new drugs. Big parts of it that's going to make a huge advantage. Eventually, hopefully, we'll be able to attend to all of it so that anyone
So these new
can
drugs,
be as jacked
what
as
are we
possible.
talking about? So are we talking about, if I come to you and I say, Mike, I want to put on, you can't get too crazy, right? You can't be a myostatin fucking cow, but you
Wait,
can.
why not?
I know you're saying that. Well, you want to be fluid and physically.
Well, you do. Okay, fuck that. I want to be enormous.
Yeah. You just want to be huge. But for me, it's like I don't want to feed. Your cardio goes out the window, all that stuff. There's got to be but to put on 10 pounds of muscle would be great.
Yeah.
15?
That's exactly what these drugs are going to do with the normal prescribed doses is going to be like, 5 to 15 pounds of muscle over the course of 6 months to a year.
And as you get older, that's great.
Oh, yeah, sure. Huge lifesaver. Now, people like myself and most bodybuilders absolutely are going to take these drugs and go, what if I did multiply by 2 or 3?
Of course you are.
And then you'll get, 1.5 or 2 times more growth out of that. And there's going to be next generation versions of these, different pathways. And so...
God, are these peptides?
They're not peptides.
They're not peptides.
They're biologics. And
They're
that
biologics.
means they're going to cost a lot of money at first, and they need intravenous infusion and all this other shit. But the way technology and biotech works without AI is that it gets better all the time.
Yeah.
Now that we have AI, I mean, in 2030, we'll probably have, take this pill and be as jacked as you want.
Is that true?
Is going to be very likely realistic.
You think in 5 years?
Yeah, oh yeah. So wacky things happen when you apply exponential curves to traditional human thinking, which is 2 things, linear and pessimistic. So people think progress works like this, like it barely goes up, and it also goes down a lot. And then now we're in the age of AI, it still goes up and down, but the up and down is on an exponential. It looks like that. And so it's like this. And so, it's actually quite, I'll give you a really good reason to be optimistic about 2030. Right now, machines are plus or minus because they have some qualities they kind of suck at related to humans and many qualities in which they're like 1,000 times better. So you talk to ChatGPT, you talk to the O3 model, it can simultaneously consider 10,000 hypotheses at the same time to see which one's the best and then counter arguments to them and then counter arguments to those.
Yeah.
And it does that in about a second and then it gives you the answer you want. I can't do that. Right? Can you do that shit?
No,
I can't do that.
No, it's so nuts.
So it would say narrowly super intelligent. But it doesn't have a world awareness. It's a little awkward sometimes, etc. Within 1 or 2 years, machines are pretty much categorically going to just be so much smarter than people, especially in very useful ways, and they're going to be agentic, which means you can tell them, hey, do this task on the internet or in a research lab, and they'll just be like, yeah, got it, no problem. They truly understand context. Have you talked to ChatGPT lately? It really gets it. It's not like some stochastic parrot or what people say about it.
It's
like a real intelligence. It's like a real thing in there, really. And it knows what it is, and it knows who you are, and it's totally cool to talk to you. And you're like, you get the joke, right? It's like, yeah, of course I get the fucking joke. And you're like, oh my God, it actually gets jokes better than people do.
Right.
And so when this really, really gnarly intelligence is agentic, which is very soon, it's testing in labs right now, they're getting the kinks out, somewhere around 2027, 2028, you're going to have a scientist as one of these things, an AI scientist. And that AI scientist is going to have functionally an IQ of 250. The smartest humans, there's no adult human scale that measures above 160. You can hypothesize there are humans smarter than that. There sure are. Let's say 170, 180, 190 IQ. Past 190, I don't even know how to relate to that. Well, I used to not be able to until I talked to the O3 reasoning model. And then I'm like, oh, fuck. Because I'm I'm pretty smart. I'm not the smartest man in the world. I'm not even close. I'm not even in the top 50%. But I'm not a total dummy. I talked to that shit and I was like, Because usually GPT 4.0, I'm smarter than 4.0 in deep reasoning.
Yeah.
Obviously, fact recall, et
but
cetera.
we're getting to a point where
O3 is just smarter than me. I still get it every now and again, but it doesn't have the luxury of even thinking its own thoughts. I have to prompt it to think, which if it thought its own thoughts, it'd fucking leave us all behind tomorrow. We're a little bit weird alignment there, but whatever. So sorry, I digress. So you have this thing that has an IQ of 200 plus, and in many ways, it's insanely super intelligent. How do you measure IQ-wise if, Albert Einstein could keep, 7 ideas in his head at the same time and interrelate them? How do you measure that against a machine that can do 150 at the same time? That's not on the IQ scale. That's an IQ of, 20,000 or whatever, right? So you have a machine like that. And then what you do is it's agentic. So you can be like, hey, can you think about how to develop new drugs, new targeting drugs for muscle or whatever? And be like, yeah, no problem. It goes off and does that. But because it's on a computer, you take that AI scientist and you clone 10 million of them. And then they all go to work on the problems. Now, whether they team up and work on one problem or whether they all work on their own problems is a little bit irrelevant. What we are doing is the total amount of human geniuses right now is not so high. Most of them live in India, right?
Yeah.
We don't even know about them.
Yeah.
And then by 2028, we will have a printing press for geniuses.
It's this mind hive.
Mind
It's
hive.
just wisdom of crowds, but the crowd is
But the crowd isn't like
brilliant.
subject to biases or anything like that.
No.
They're just like real fucking sharp.
sharing thoughts,
Sharing thoughts.
ideas.
They don't have like crazy egos or anything. So they're like not trying to like hold their inventions themselves. And so when you have that, and then you point that problem at bioinformatics, biotech, you saying, okay, right now we have maybe like in Silicon Valley, in biotech space, we have like 10,000 legit geniuses working on these problems. What happens when you have things that are 10 times smarter than them by 2028, but you have like 10 million of them?
Frankenstein.
Then,
We don't know.
by 2030, whatever's you thought we were going to invent or thought we were going to bring to market or thought we were going to have as candidate drugs for changing the human body, genetic engineering, age reversal, all of that is on that part of the exponential that makes no goddamn sense.
Yeah.
And then so our ability to relate to it, it can be analogous to our your dog's ability to think about like what does you think your dog thinks you do during the day?
Yeah.
Like when you leave.
Yeah.
What do you think your dog thinks about? What's Bryan up to? Like, he doesn't even think that at all. Like, And how much have you thought about exponential intelligence explosion on drugs effect? You're like, I haven't thought about it at all. Like, that's right.
That's
But
right.
10 million AIs are going to think about it 24/7.
You were talking about the effect of Ozempic and just like how it has truly made everybody skinnier. Yeah. And as a result, people like fast food companies are like, holy shit, our profits are down 20% or whatever.
Sure.
People need to be refitted for smaller rings, so we need less.
That's crazy. You told me that.
alloy.
That was
And,
fascinating.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And these things that are the ripple effect to these technologies, and that's just peptides. That's just the first generation.
Pre-AI.
Pre-AI.
Yeah.
And, they have this, I think they just figured out a way to awaken dormant hair cells with a peptide that's coming out. Do you know much about that?
Yeah, it was tested on my
I was
arms.
going to say, yeah.
They got it from me.
Yes, they got it from you.
Yeah, I had not heard about that. That is not surprising. There is shit coming down the pipeline, which is just totally wacky. They have a systemic drug currently about to begin dog trials. The puppies. But they're old puppies. And they're going to be trying to age reverse the dogs. They've already succeeded in mice.
Lengthening their telomeres or something like that.
Some shit like that.
Yeah.
Basically decluttering their bodies of like gunk.
Yeah.
And so, because we have the natural ability to do that, but our bodies are not optimized for longevity. And so at some point your body just kind of stops giving a shit. That's really kind of the story of aging, is your body's not trying to age you. It's just kind of like, and I'm over 30. It's better than I could do in ancestral times.
Yeah.
We're good.
Entropy.
We're not supposed to be alive anyway,
Right.
right? Like it's like waking up a dude from like cryostasis and he's 1,000 years old and he's living in a society 1,000 years old. Like, it's like, what do you want to do? He's like, well, all my friends are dead.
Yeah.
Everything I can relate to is gone.
Right.
So that's kind of how your body is when you're 70. It's kind of like, I don't even know why the fuck I'm here.
100%.
It turns out when they empower your body to clean its own shit up with these drugs, it is very reasonable to think that when these systemic drugs are tested on humans, that's just in their current understanding, by the way, nothing to do with AI. These drugs might not even make it to human trials because AI drugs come out that are so much better. They just scrap the whole research line and put the AI drugs forward.
Yeah.
They're looking at something like 10 to 15 years of physiological age reduction if you take one course of these.
Jesus.
Yeah. And so it worked in mice, almost certainly going to work in dogs. They'll get it to work in dogs.
Yeah.
And then next is primates and then humans. So in the early 2030s, you're going to be able to be like, 55 again.
Great. I can pick up a musical instrument and always be the drummer I wanted to be.